Okay, so let's do Chargers-Texans. Who is this a must-win game for? And then tell me who you think is actually going to win, if they're different.
Who it's a must win for?
Yeah,
I think it I think it's a must win for the Texans.
yeah.
I think with the anticipation going into the season, how they perform during the season too, CJ Stroud and who he is. I mean, the Chargers, for all intent and purpose, same team, different coach. So for me, I think the Chargers are going to win.
Yeah.
But even if they lose, it's one of those things where they can reflect and be like, hey, we got old khaki bag back, Harbaugh's back in here, coach this team to a playoff spot, but hey, next year we're going to build on it in itself. I think the Chargers have the better team. I think they're a better coach team all around, but I think it really does largely like most games. But this more than any of them, looking at this list, is probably going to depend on the performance solely of CJ Stroud and, obviously the Texans defense too. So overall, I think it would mean more for the Texans, but I do think the Chargers take it.
So I think this is a must-win for the Chargers, 100%.
Interesting.
And it's only because, yes, this is what Jim Harbaugh was brought in to do. He was brought in specifically because the Chargers have been underperforming since Justin Herbert has gotten there. 5 years, 6 years, however long it's been, you have no playoff success. You have nothing going for you. People putting Justin Herbert in the same class categories as Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. And he really has nothing to stand on other than he has a cannon for an arm. He has no real meaningful winning to substantiate any of that. So for me, it's a must win. The Houston Texans, I probably could have put them in my most disappointing team. People had them in the AFC title game. And yes, they lost Stephon Diggs, but they had weapons all over the place. They had some injuries, but CJ Stroud regressed mightily, like throughout the season compared to what he was last year. And again, that's sports media's fault, right? You got to give these guys 3 years. And, so I'm not really shocked by that. But for me, it's time for Justin Herbert to show that he is worth all of the attention that he's been getting in terms of sports media coverage and people putting him in the top 5 of quarterback rankings when he hasn't really done anything. He has top 5 potential. He's not a top 5 quarterback because he hasn't won anything. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't carried his team to shit. And so for me, it's a must win for the Los Angeles Chargers. And they're on the road, but I do think that's the virtue of not reseeding the playoffs. The Texans won their division, and it's one of those weird, like the other teams having to visit the the Vikings having 14 wins and having to go on the road. They'll never reseed the playoffs, but you're a better team. I don't care that you're not the home game. Like the Chargers, you're indoors. It's not like you're going to Baltimore or you're going to an outdoor team as a hot LA team playing indoors. You're going to another indoor stadium in Texas. So you should have the advantage even on the road. And so that's why I think they need to win more. All right. Let's do Green Bay, Philadelphia, Bert.
Sure. Yeah. This one actually, I think, and look, I know we've seen a Green Bay team that has not necessarily had it together the past couple of weeks, and fandom is losing faith, and as they should after that shit ending that happened this past weekend. But what I will tell you is the Eagles need to win this game.
Yeah,
they do. 100%. They're expected to. This game, I think, out of all of them, is probably the most likely to be a blowout. In theory, right? However, Bert's prediction out of all of these games, this one has the most potential to be the underdog upset with the Packers.
Yeah.
Huge asterisks in underdog upset. Do I think Green Bay is going to win? No, but I do think they're going to surprise most. I think they're going to take the time to really prepare and go into it. And look, we've seen this team shock us before, much like they did in the playoffs last year. They're also the youngest team in the playoffs. The same situation they were in last year when they continued to shock us too. And if it's one thing we know, the Eagles sometimes have a tendency to completely implode. That was the pre-Saquon days. It looks like they've got it locked together. They've made all the appropriate moves towards the end of the season to make sure they rest their players. But I just hope Nick Sirianni comes in with that mentality of over preparing, give it the Belichick check, go over absolutely everything, come in to fight, come in to win, and put it away. Because I think out of all of the dogs, Green Bay's probably got the most fight to upset.
I 100% agree with you. It's definitely Philadelphia has to win this game. And it's not really because of their Super Bowl aspirations. It's not because they have probably the best roster in the playoffs in the NFL. It's because they're such a volatile team. We've seen it between Nick Sirianni and the fans, or Nick Sirianni and some players. A.J. Brown versus Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts coming off of concussion protocol. If they're healthy, they have the best offense and the best defense from top to bottom. And now, I mean, this has the potential to really go bad for the Eagles if they lose in the first round of the Packers. But also, and
If
not
they
that I'm
lose to the first
expecting
round to the Packers, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a coaching change.
100%, which would be ridiculous to me.
Yes.
That would be the dumbest thing Philly's ever done. But I get it from a looks standpoint. But this is where you have to take emotion and be objective and kind of look at the landscape and look at what you got. The grass really isn't greener on the other side, and so we get this rematch from the Brazil game. But I do believe it's a must win for Philly because there's more on the line for them than a playoff exit. I think this is either going to make or break the team as we can currently.
Yeah, I mean, would go over all the drama and them saying they got to be better, and then you get former players calling out wide receiver quarterback drama that may or may not be there. Is it good? Is it not good? So, I mean, as you mentioned, there's a lot riding on this that's been heightened from off the field drama that's been there.
Minnesota at Los Angeles, Bert. Maybe at Los Angeles. We'll see.
Yes, yeah. Look, this is a must-win for the Vikings. You can't have a fantastic season like you just did, coming down literally to the last week that we just spoke about, for you to phone it in. And to be honest with you, I don't want to say nobody expected the Rams to be here, because all in all, they're a good football team. But I mean, when you're looking at that matchup in particular, because even though, regardless, and again, it's because the division winners and so on, the Vikings have to play an away game despite having the better record. I think overall, and everything that they've just proved, that they have to be the team that wins. They've activated Daniel Jones. He'll be out there. He's ready to go. Just in case Sam Darnold isn't. But I think all in all, and not only do they have to win, I think they are the team that is going to win too.
Oh yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's just they have to. Just the season they had. And this is nothing against LA. Like I think they have a good chance of winning. I'm probably picking the Vikings, just like you said, based on the season they had. I think they've done enough that I trust them. But how amazing would it be that, not that I'm wishing for Sam Darnold to get hurt, but Daniel Jones comes in and wins a playoff game.
Oh my God, he could be the Nick Foles of the Vikings.
I mean, yeah, like a little Super Bowl run maybe to the NFC, or maybe an NFC title game. Like, that would be just him winning a playoff game.
Yeah, if he comes in and wins
amazing.
not only a playoff game, but a title game or the Super Bowl, because it could happen.
Yeah,
I think I might have to take off of work the entire week and just sit in a dark room and just be like, what is happening?
I just want a Daniel Jones led Vikings team to be in the NFC playoff game. That would be versus the Eagles, like him versus Saquon, the New York Giants Bowl. That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Giant fans everywhere would just be weeping the entire game.
It would be over. It'd be over for them. That MetLife would no longer exist. They'd just storm it like it's the Capitol building or something. All right, Bert. The next game, Denver Broncos at my Buffalo Bills.
Your Bills have to win this game. They have to. It's Josh Allen coming off what should be his MVP season. They've absolutely, we can say absolutely dominated. So they absolutely have to. I think, I hate to pour salt in the wounds here, buddy, but like every other single season, and falling short of a Super Bowl is going to be a disappointing season to them, because at that point you're like, is our window finally closing? And Sean McDermott, as you have so much love for him through and through, I mean, this, I think, is his last opportunity. Otherwise, there has to be a change there as well. There's only so much you can do if you're not, especially if you're not getting past the first round. I mean, you guys have been to AFC Championship games before. It's like, act like you've been here, take care of business first round, and move on.
Yeah, the Bills have to win the game. Like it's a must win for the Bills.
And I do think the Bills are going to win, but
and they're heavy favorites, and they should win.
In the back of your mind, you can. I mean, Bo Nix.
I know. Well, so here's the thing, because I am. Here's why this game scares me. Okay, it's about matchups. Most sports are about matchups. The Broncos do two things really well. They run the ball well, and then they apply pressure to the quarterback really well. And for me, that'll be the key for Buffalo, for him getting the ball out quickly, which I think he's shown to do.
Yeah,
I think he's the least sacked quarterback in the league. So again, it's not a matter of the Broncos absolutely containing him. Josh Allen has shown that he can kind of adapt to that, but that doesn't change the fact that it is just like a little wrinkle that it's something that the Broncos are strong at. And I kind of a little nervous about how, with the weather and everything else, how that's going to help Denver kind of control the game, because I see the game playing out also in two different ways. The Bills are either going to blow them out, or it's going to be like a close game, and then the game's going to be decided by situational football. That scares the shit out of me, because Sean McDermott is the worst situational football coaches in the league that I've ever seen, and Sean Payton is one of the best ever. And so the real test is, this is a real test for not the Buffalo Bills, because it's Josh Allen in all of the Bills playoff games has been excellent, even in the losses. All of our losses are because of Sean McDermott, and it's because it's come down to situational football, because the game is close for whatever reason. And the Bills are going to have to basically put a lot of points up on the board, and I think they're going to be able to do that against the Broncos team, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm super nervous, because the Broncos, again, it's about matchups, and I think the thing that the Broncos do really well is something that the Bills aren't the greatest against, and so it gives me a little cause for concern. But I really, like, my panic meter isn't crazy high. Like it's still at, like,
no, but
6.
it's I mean, it's still whispering like, hey,
yeah, it's just that one thing. It's that one
Yeah.
little thing that I'm like, oh my God, please God, And I think we're gonna see a lot of. It's gonna be a Josh Allen running game. Like it's gonna be a Josh Allen legs game, and not really an arm game. And that has nothing to do with the weather. Honestly, I think if the weather was perfect, you would still see it that way, because I think that the Broncos pass rush is going to try to contain Josh Allen, and he's going to just run up the middle a lot, or he's going to find a way to escape, or he's going to get the ball out quickly and a lot of screen passes. So that's something to watch out for in that game. But I do think the Bills are going to win. I do think they're going to win comfortably. It's just like you said, it's that little thing in the back of my head that I'm kind of nervous about. Big one, Bert. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens.
The Ravens absolutely have to win this game.
Fucking right.
There's no, I mean, after the season they've had, after, the love for Lamar through and through, Derrick Henry, I mean, there's no reason and look, what we have to remember is this is not only a fantastic matchup for playoff football, but they split the season, in a very low scoring game. Where Pittsburgh won, and then most recently when Baltimore got back at them and showed them who they are. But the Ravens have to win this. Now, you as a Bills fan better be rooting for the Steelers hard.
1,000%.
Yes.
I'd rather play the Steelers. Yeah. You damn right.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Chiefs would get Steelers, no?
Oh no, that's right. The Chiefs would get the Steelers. Yeah,
but you would end up getting. I mean,
but I'm saying, I want them so we don't play the Ravens. We would get the lowest seed.
100%. Yeah, get the lowest seed. Plus, I mean, let Pittsburgh deal with KC. I mean, that may be something where that could be one of those, complete upset games. But again, we're forward thinking here. All in all, the Ravens have to win this game. If they don't, it's nothing short of embarrassing.
Dwayne Marcus says Lamar Jackson is the most overrated quarterback in the league, which is hilarious. Only player in NFL history with multiple MVPs and no Super Bowl appearances. Also, historically bad playoff performer. That right there is why it's a must-win for the Ravens. And he kind of said it himself. His past playoff performances, he's been antsy, quote unquote. Yeah. And not. I don't know if that's something I'd probably be admitting to anybody, but he does. Like, he's supposed to be the MVP in a lot of people's eyes. Yeah. And the one knock against him is My man Donato, shout out to JT and the Don, Lamar for MVP. Nonsense. That shit is nonsense. But that is the knock against him, is his lack of playoff success. His best playoff win is against rookie CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know, Josh Allen's best playoff performance is against Lamar Jackson. Like so if you're going to be who everybody says you are, you have to start doing it when it matters, not week 4. You know what I mean? When you throw for under 200 yards and Derrick Henry actually beat the Bills and not you, but it's okay.
I mean, there's no reason why the Ravens shouldn't. When you think about the success that Baltimore has had in the playoffs, and particularly in the Super Bowl, they've done it with, dare I say, mediocre quarterbacks. So there's absolutely no reason why this offense shouldn't be able to get it done, unless it's truly a Lamar performance in the postseason problem. It's you bring up the likes of, dare I say, a Tony Romo, solid quarterback, can't get it done in the playoffs. And if Lamar's going down that path, as Dwayne Marcus said, great. You're the best in the regular season. Put that on a banner. Give it to Lamar. He can hang it in his locker. Great on the MVP, but if you're not helping your team win the rings, it's not going to matter.
Lamar's road to the Super Bowl requires a win against Pittsburgh, a team that he's 3-5 against in his career, then Buffalo and KC, 2 QBs that are considerably better than him. So yeah, I mean, again, it's a matter of, it's put up or shut up time, right?
Yeah.
It's cool that you have all these gaudy stats. You have 9. Well, it's you and 8 other Pro Bowlers on this team. Like, it's time for y'all to step it up. Derrick Henry's there. There's no excuses. And so, if, again, playoffs doesn't really bode well, or doesn't bode any, or have any type of influence on MVP. But if you are indeed the MVP, you have to also have playoff success. Sorry. Like, that is what at least Josh Allen has playoff wins. He's been to AFC title games. I know Lamar's been to the Super Bowl, right? But it's like Josh Allen, again, is doing more with less. He's been individually greater overall. Like Lamar's best season is this season, but Josh Allen has just been consistently better than him pretty much their entire careers. And as far as that goes, but yeah, it's definitely a must win for the Ravens. Like this is everything. They like put everything in the Derrick Henry thing. Lamar Jackson is an MVP candidate. They've been considered the best team in the league. Can you admit that Lamar should be? Yeah, he should. Considered, but when I'm splitting hairs, and again, and I said this last week, I wouldn't be upset if Lamar got it. I would understand it. I don't think he would deserve it over Josh Allen, because now you have to get into advanced analytics. Dan Orlovsky had a great stat. The Bills average 3-point-something points per possession, meaning when Josh Allen's on the field, the team scores more, and that leads the league. If that's not an MVP, I don't know who. His best weapon is Mac Hollins. Like Josh Allen has, and he leads the league in EPA, which, you know, and he leads the league, not leads the league, but it's like his 5th consecutive season with like 40 touchdowns and some crazy other stat. And again, for me at this point, if I have to pick one, I would pick Josh Allen because he's doing it with less. The expectations for the Bills versus the expectations for the Ravens were much, much different. Like there was people having the Bills not even making the playoffs. It was a rebuilding year. Circumstances matter. So yeah, I can deal with stats. I can understand stats, but the argument for Lamar this year has been stats. That's really all the backbone of his argument is. Oh, he's putting up all these stats. He's putting up all these stats. Again, I understand that. And in a normal year, I would agree with you. But Lamar Jackson screwed himself because last year he didn't have the stats, and he got MVP because there was the optics that he was carrying a bunch of garbage. He wasn't. Yeah. He was carrying a lesser team, and they were winning just enough, right? Because if it was against stats, then Dwayne Marcus said it. Joe Burrow would be the MVP because he has more yards, more completions. He has more yards by almost 1,000 than Lamar Jackson. He has more completions. He has more passing touchdowns. Like. So the problem is he doesn't have the win. So, and this is what I was saying. So if it can't be the stats, because then he wouldn't be deserving. He didn't have the stats last year. Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen had the stats last year. So now this year he has the stats, but you didn't account for that last year. We're using the same argument for the reason why he won it last year for Josh Allen this year. Mm-hmm. And Josh Allen also now has more wins. Yep. And so like you have to pick you have to pick, what your criteria is, and I think that's what Dwayne Marcus was saying last week in terms of picking an MVP. But for me, it's just watch the games. Watch the games and tell me that Josh Allen isn't the best player. He is literally the reason why his team is winning. The 35-10 game that people like to bring up in head-to-head matchups, considering that Josh Allen nor Lamar play defense, so I'm not exactly sure what that means. But Lamar threw for less than 200 yards. That was a Derrick Henry game from the jump, from the absolute jump. Dwayne Marcus wants me to define EPA for people who don't understand. Basically, it means expected points added. So it measures what a team's performance is compared to the expectations for each play. Josh Allen plays that Josh Allen makes, like they take like the average of, oh, he should have been sacked, or this shouldn't have been a completion, or this shouldn't be this. And it basically measures players who make something out of nothing. Josh Allen does that by far way better than any other player in the league. That is an MVP to me. And people like to say, oh, well, because he doesn't have a 1,000-yard passer or receiver. He doesn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. And I know James Cook has 1,009 yards. So if you want to quabble over 9 yards, which he got in week 18 where Josh Allen sat. So of course they force-fed James Cook the ball so he can get to that 1,000. But come on, let's not compare James Cook and Derrick Henry, because nobody in their right mind would. Let's stop it. Again, 9 Pro Bowlers versus 2 Pro Bowlers. And Josh Allen's other Pro Bowler is a left tackle, Deion Dawkins. So let's stop this. Let's stop this nonsense about who's doing more with less. Donato, I'm with you, brother. Lamar should be considered. Saquon should be considered. Sam Darnold should be considered. Jared Goff. What's consideration? Like, there's a bunch of players that should be considered. I'd consider Jaden Daniels, but I'm talking about who should win it. It's Josh Allen. It's simply Josh Allen. And I'm sorry that we took a lot of time on that, but I feel like it was an important conversation. But so we both
we need that needed to be said again.
We both have the Ravens winning. We do both expect that the Ravens, it is a must win for the Ravens, but I am also rooting for the Steelers because I kind of don't, Yeah. He said Saquon shouldn't be considered. We got to stop that. I mean, if he broke Eric Dickerson's record, but yeah, I think I'm with you of the ilk that skill players can't win MVP. If Saquon was doing it on the Giants, for example, and the Giants had nothing else going on, and he willed them to a wild card spot, I could have an argument for something like that. But also the other problem is, you get those years where like the running backs break 2,000 yards and no quarterback has really separated himself. The problem is Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have just been so historically great that a skill player, there was nothing a skill player, even if they broke the record to me. And again, the circumstances with Saquon is he has A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Hurts, and Dallas Goedert. He has so much other greatness around him. It's not because of him. The Eagles were in the Super Bowl without him. And so if Saquon if he got 2,000 yards on the Giants this year, then yeah, I could buy putting him somewhere in a serious discussion for MVP, but not on this Eagles team that was in the Super Bowl literally a year or some change ago without him.
2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, so he's great. Saquon's great. I wish he was on the Bills. Trust me. It's just MVP. It's hard for a skill player to really do it. Like there has to be a perfect storm of all-time historic greatness, and whether that's fair or not, I don't know. But there has to be all-time historic greatness, and then the quarterbacks, it has to be a down year for quarterbacks. There can't be like a far and away really good quarterback. The year that Eric Dickerson set the record, the problem was Dan Marino threw for 5,000 yards that season. Yeah. So it's like things like that need to happen. Maybe if Dan Marino threw for 3,000 or shot just over 4,000, then you could, and then nobody else was close. Then that's the year that maybe a running back could have won it. But yeah, and any other instance, that's probably not going to happen. And one of the best O-lines in the league. And he's talking about Saquon and the Eagles. So yeah, I 100% agree there. Last game, Bert, Commanders and Buccaneers.
So this is just going to be a fun one for me. Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't really wrap my head around who is expected to. I think the the team, it's got to be the Bucs, right? Like they must be the ones expected to. For me, they're the one I'm rooting for. I'm in the Bake Show, and there's no part of me as a Giant fan that can want the Commanders to win, despite the fact that I like Jaden Daniels. But like, you know, it's got to be the Bucs. I want the Bake Show out there. I want him doing his thing. And that's honestly what I'm going with.
Yeah, I don't know. Neither team. That's not a must win for either team.
Yeah,
but I would love. I think the Bucks and specifically Baker Mayfield needed a little bit more. The Commanders, again, the Commanders weren't expected to be here, right? Like they can only go up from here. Baker needs this kind of for his legacy as a former number one pick. He needs to have some really good success in the postseason. He's a former, and people like him, so they're not going to criticize his career path as much because he's the MVP of the Bucks, right? He's the MVP of like he's great. Dwayne Marcus had 350 and 3 tutties on that Commander. Probably, I mean the Bucks offense, low key, should scare every team in the playoffs, Lions included, who are sitting at home. The Bucks offense, I can't speak for the defense, but the Bucks offense is one of the best offenses in the league. Is this a must win for Bulls though? Yeah. So I don't know I don't know if it's a must win for Todd Bowles, because I don't think anybody, when they think of the great coaches in the NFL, immediately throw Todd Bowles out there. Like, how many names are you going to until you get to Todd Bowles? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Is it a must? To me, a must win is for somebody who, like Mike McDaniel in this situation, it would be a must win for him. Just considered who Todd Bowles has always been considered a good coach. I don't know if he's ever been considered in the tier 1 of the coaching, but I just think he's one of those guys that people respect. But I wouldn't say a must win for Todd Bowles. But obviously, I think the Bucks have higher expectations. So in that sense, then yeah, it's a must win for him as a coach. But again, we can't lose as fans if either team wins. But
yeah.
I would, as fan, I love Baker. I love everything Baker represents, and he's absolutely the catalyst for that team. And things go the way Baker goes, and I think they're going to be okay. Baker Mayfield has had Jalen McMillan looking like a top 10 receiver the last 4 weeks. Baker's been ill all year. I mean, I comeback player of the year. I don't know if he meets the criteria for that, but Baker Mayfield is a top 10 quarterback. Period. This year, straight up. Argue. I don't care who anybody. If you want to argue about it, argue about it. I don't bring up advanced analytics and wind direction screen pass percentages or whatever you nerds out there want to fucking use to justify your dumb argument. Donato says must win to keep the job. Unless you can get Cliff Kingsbury, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, then no. And even those guys are, we think that like Cliff Kingsbury to me is, or Mike Vrabel. And again, I'm taking Mike Vrabel out of this because I think he's destined for New England. Mm-hmm. I think he's spoken for. So if you're in a position to get like a Cliff Kingsbury, then I would say no in terms of a must win, because you guys were supposed to win the division, right? Or no, they did win the division. So you won the division. I keep thinking because the Falcons are in, right? Or the Falcons?
No, the Falcons are not. No.
Now, who did we talk about? Oh, we said they were disappointing. That's right.
Yes,
yeah. So you win the division. Yeah, you didn't win the division in the way you thought. So it's hard for me to say you're going to lose your job as a division winner who was in the playoffs. Probably going to win the wild card round. So unless you can get, and everything is circumstantial, but so unless you are surefire and you've had these little backdoor conversations that you can get a Cliff Kingsbury or a Ben Johnson, then yeah, I don't think it's a must win for Todd Bowles. I think they're sitting pretty, because again, you got to remember the Bucs were firing on all cylinders. Chris Godwin goes out for the season. That changes a lot. So Chris Godwin is kind of Todd Bowles.
Mike Evans was injured for a couple.
And Mike Evans lost a bunch of time. And Baker Mayfield carried that team with Todd Bowles leading them. So no, now that I'm remembering all that, Don, no, it's not a must win. He's not going to lose his job, I don't think. Again, unless you can get a Ben Johnson, or unless you can get somebody like Cliff, just somebody offensively, I think would work well with Baker. Then And even Cliff Kingsbury to me is kind of a reach, but Dwayne Marcus just said that just now too. Cliff, keep far away from Tampa. Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury, he's going to be after all the women down there. He's way too good looking for Tampa Bay. Actually, no, he said he has no business being a head coach in the National Football League. Wow, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I like Todd Bowles, and I think losing a Chris Godwin and losing Mike Evans for a bulk of the season. And then again, developing Bucky Irvin, developing McMillan. That's to me, that's a credit to Todd Bowles. So if I had to call it a must win, I would say a must win on the division winner, not the wild card team that nobody expected anything from. And then obviously Baker Mayfield kind of has a legacy to kind of build, and I think he definitely needs to start racking up some playoff wins. Mm-hmm. So, all right, Bert. That was fun. It was a little longer. We had great interaction, but I definitely don't mind that at all. That was